Hey everybody, I'm sure you know it, but LA is on fire right now, and the good folks over at Conan want your help to help the LA firefighters. Right now, you can get this limited edition print over on the Conan website. It comes in sizes 8 by 12 up to 32 by 48. The price for it ranges from $15.90 up to $36.70, so it's still like in that affordable range, even if you get the largest one. 100% of the proceeds of this go to support the LA firefighters. I'll leave a link to this in the description below. Check it out. Hello everybody, Mac here. Welcome back to the show. It's 1993 again. What we have here is what equates to Wave 1 of Rob Liefeld's X-treme universe from LooseCollector, and for that alone you should go ahead and leave this video a like, because look at these things. These are so quintessentially 90s, just in their size, in their look, in the pouches that they have pretty much everywhere. If you are a reader of comics, a collector of comics, you know who Rob Liefeld is. If you're not, I'll just say he gave us Deadpool, so thank him for that. But what we have is a line of figures that is based off of his Image comic days. We have, like I said, we have Cabbot Stone over here from Bloodstrike, and we have Bloodwulf over here. And these are two very interesting characters, I feel, to start off with. First of all, we have Cabbot Stone, which once we get him out of the package, you take a look at him, he is basically a derivative of Cable. And then we have Bloodwulf over here, which you could argue is his version of Lobo. Now, looking at the packaging, I think the packaging is fantastic. I love this black box with just like the names, the logos, big windows so you can see everything that's inside. I love the Liefeld art down here of our two characters. Mine came a little damaged that the glue came off the back of the blade, so it peeled away, but I think I'm going to glue that back up and put it back on there, because these are a great way to store them as well. Because when we turn them, we also have some more Liefeld artwork right there of each character on the side. Same thing here. We have some Liefeld artwork, different pieces of art, and then on the back, we have basically the image for Bloodwulf. Whoops. We have basically the image for Bloodwulf that is up front. And over here, we have an image of Cabbot Stone with some of the other members of Bloodstrike going on. This is a comic panel. I didn't realize that at first when I got the box. I was more excited about what was inside. This is a page from one of the comics. I think I have this comic because there's Cabbot Stone. I think that's Shogun. That's Tag, Foreplay, and I think that's, his name was Deadlock down here. They were members of his team. Well, that's cool. Hopefully that's maybe a glimpse of what we're going to be getting. Okay, sorry, that caught me off. I didn't realize that was a actual comic panel. And we have a little bit of a bio on each one of them on the back here. That for Bloodwulf over here. Bloodwulf is an alien bounty hunter from the planet Looper, where he lives with his multiple wives and brood of children. His mother, Red Wolf, and grandmother, Caliphate, are also formidable starfarers. His desire for adventure is only equaled by his immense bloodlust. In 1993, two Praxian princes insulted Bloodwulf's grandmother, and he destroyed Praxin 9 in retaliation. Bloodwulf's powers include enhanced strength and a personal force field, which allows him to breathe in the vacuum of space. And then we have the contents here. The Bloodwulf figure, alternate head, 2 fists, 2 neutral hands, 2 action hands, 2 grip hands, 2 trigger hands, removable jacket, knife with sheath, 2 rifles, and a BAG. Big Ace gun. Over here, little is known about Cabbot Stone's background. He was born with the new gene strain, which is basically the X gene, new gene strain in his blood, making him stronger and faster than an average human. It also allows him to age slower. Upon his death, Cabbot was reanimated through Project Born Again, which allows him to heal from mortal wounds and continue to live. Due to this, he is technically undead. Cabbot is the leader of the mercenary team known as Bloodstrike. His brother is John Annex Battlestone Stone. His father is Michael Quantum Stone. Over here, contents include Cabbot figure, alternate head, 2 fists, 2 neutral hands, 2 action hands, 2 grip hands, 2 trigger hands, removable jacket, knife with sheath, pistol with holster, 2 rifles, and our big ace gun. So, that is what we have going. And then up top is just Liefeld's name, signature, and the character name. So without further ado, let's get these open. And like I said, they're not numbered, but I'm going to go 1 and 2, which means we are looking at Bloodstrike first. So let's get Bloodstrike out of the box and take a look at him. So one of the features of the X-treme universe of Liefeld's figures is that they have the removable vests or the removable jackets. So for the first look at Cabbot, I took the jacket off so we can take a look at the body sculpt underneath. And truthfully, once I put the vest back on and you take a look at it, I think I like it better without. He looks more jacked, honestly, with the jacket off than with it on. And you'll see what I mean once we put it back on. Let's get that line lined back up. I also really dig the colors of this. I like the bright purple of his shirt right here, the red stones of his belt buckle and his knee pads, the brown pants with the darker brown boots and the matching gloves, not to mention like the red face paint, the whited out eyes, this beautiful head of hair, this ponytail right here that has the black wash in it to make everything stand out, and then the gold band around the top knot. It's not a ponytail, around the top knot right here, and the flow to it. I love the colors of this. I love the paint apps of this because, like, honestly, I'm not seeing any flaws in the paint apps on mine. Whether it's in the bodysuit here, whether it's the eyes, whether it's any of the lower parts, like even right here with this sort of like burnished metal for his external steel toes. And you can even see like some marking, some scarring, some dings on his steel toes right there. And of course we have pouches, pouches and pouches and pouches for pouches. We have pouches on pouches. It's the 90s. This is so quintessentially and absolutely 90s. Look at the veins popping on his arms. Now we have a little bit of paint rub. This isn't overspray or anything. I think there was some on this side too. Maybe not. I thought there was. But that's basically paint rub from the armband that he wears. I'll probably be able to wash that off a little bit once I'll be able to get that off with some soap. But look at the veins. Look at the jacked muscles. Like, this is so 90s right here. And you can even see the vein work coming through his shirt right there. I think the sculpt on this is fantastic. I think the detail work and the paint apps on this, like even the wash that they gave to his face right there. This is far beyond what I was expecting from LooseCollector. Now, keep in mind, my only real experience with LooseCollector was the Vampirella figure, which is okay, and the Rocketeer, which I like a lot. Not a big fan of the Betty figure that came with it, but I really like the Rocketeer. The only thing that I have issue with is that you can even see it's happening while I'm moving him around, is that the shoulder cuffs or his butterfly joints tend to... Maybe I need to push that in a little more. No. Tend to get loose and sort of sink into the torso. Now, that's not nearly as big of an issue once we put the... see what I mean? Once we put the jacket back on him, because you really can't see it. But the one side is keeps falling in. The other side isn't. I'm not sure. I might have put this back in wrong, and you'll see why I had to put it in a moment. But let's take a look at the articulation. That his head will do a full 360 spin. It pops off the neck joint very easily. That's my one complaint. That, like, I feel like the socket right there should be a little deeper. That it doesn't feel like it's recessing enough. So I might Dremel that out a little. But there he is looking up. There he is looking down. See that? Even when you try and do some tilt, it pops off. He has... that is frustrating. I didn't realize... Because you can even see in the back right there that it doesn't recess all the way. let's do something here. I normally save the additional head sculpts for accessories, but let's see if this one seats on there any better. No, that one sits high too. And that one pulls the neck off. So that one, okay. So yeah, I think the sockets on the head sculpts need to be carved out a little more. But we do have tilt side to side. You saw I did the full 360. Now the arms will do a full 360 as well. He has the butterfly joints, which we were just talking about. The arms will come up to there, past 90. He has bicep swivel. He has double jointed arms with some decent travel considering how yoked he is. Now, when we put his armbands back on, he does have issue. He doesn't get them in that close. Wrists swivel. Wrists hinge up and down, but these also have those Revoltech wrist that you can do that, and now they hinge in and out. So I dig that. I feel like every figure should have wrists like that. I love that. Let's get your arms up out of the way, Cabbot, so we can take a look at your torso movement. Now you can see we have a cut right here that he can get some movement. I don't want to do a full spin because it feels like the sculpt of him stops right there. And I don't want to stretch the torso at all. He goes back not a whole lot. He goes forward not a whole lot. He does have not a whole lot of movement at the waist because I think that like the pants piece in there sort of like holds it in place. He gets a little bit more back though from the waist. He gets a little bit more forward from the waist. And he has some tilt side to side, especially if you use both of them in conjunction. Now his legs will come forward that far, which is pretty decent considering how chunky he is. They'll go back that far, not a whole lot. They will come out to the side. They'll stop right there, which they don't come out to 90, but considering it's Cabot stone and its size, I don't really have a problem with that. Now you can see right here, there is a cut for the thigh cut joint right there that has really fluid movement. Knees, double jointed, come up to there. Doesn't surprise me that you can't really close them in that much because one, just the sculpt of the figure is so chonky, but he also has his pouches on pouches on pouches. We do have a boot cut that the boot will move, but just like the torso, it feels like that because of the design of the sculpt, you're not going to get a full spin out of it. Now, I don't have a problem with that because realistically, would you be posing him with his feet facing backwards? I think not. His feet will rock back very well. His feet will rock forward very well. And of course, he has a forward-facing pin for some rocker. No toe articulation, which considering everything else that went into this figure, kind of surprises me. I thought he was going to have some toe articulation, but that is our articulation for Cabbot. Once again, I think he looks fantastic. My only real issue is I think the head socket needs to be bored out a little deeper. That may just be mine, but it keeps popping off. Also, the cuffs for the butterfly joint keep falling into the body. You kind of have to keep moving them out. Now, the reason I say I may not have set that in there properly is this. To get the vests on and off, you have to pop the arms off. And truthfully, at first I was worried that they just did this. They just realized, hey, if you pop the arms off, you can take the vest off. But it looks like with the way that the socket is in there, it's sort of like a neoprene socket, and the size of the ball joint right here, I do believe that was always intended. So we pop the head off, we pop the arms off, and then we bring his pouches in, his vest in with more pouches, and we just slide that down over top of the torso. Now, this isn't something I'm going to be doing often. I'll probably do it again just for the end of the video whenever I'm shooting the photos, and then that will probably be it. He'll probably live on my shelf with the vest on, just because I don't want to push my luck and get those arm joints loose. So then you put your sockets back in, or you put your cups back in rather, and then you just pop the arms back in. And then you put your head sculpt back on, and there you go. And see what I mean? Like, he looks bulky with the vest on, but he looks jacked with the vest off. Because, like, the vest kind of hides the sculpt, the purple of the shirt, the musculature underneath. I'm not sure how I want to really display him, because I kind of like both versions. And I think that's good. I think it's good that, like, you're kind of torn between, do I want to show him with the vest off or do I want to show him with the vest on? I think it's great that you even have the option to do that. Options are always good. And you take a look here, you can see these canisters right here that could be launched grenades, could be big Horkin shotgun shells. With Bloodstrike, you never know. We have pouches, because he doesn't have any storage space anywhere else. We have a grenade right here with more pouches. We have some kind of high-tech clasp holding the vest together with more, it looks like shotgun shells over here. And then on the back, we have the pegs that will hold his weapons onto the back of the vest. And we have his big Horkin knife sheath as well. I really like the style of this, the design of this, the texturing of the leather, the brass for the buttons right there. I think the texturing of the vest itself, you can see it sort of has like that elastic band around the waist, but you can also see the texture of the leather in back along with like the clasps. Now, what I like about this is if you really pay attention to this, these are imprints right here, that these aren't actually the clasps. It's like these buckles are part of the under vest that he's wearing, that you can see there's like, it looks like there's two different pieces. There's this piece right here, and then there's the top piece over it. So these are actually, to me anyway, it may be that they just didn't paint them, but to me it looks like this is the leather over vest pulled over top of the padding. Those buckles are part of the padding, and the leather has just sort of stretched and conformed to them. That is an awesome touch. I think that's really good. I'm very impressed with what they've done with the sculpt and the paint apps on this. And I think this kind of might take LooseCollector to a new level. I'm really digging what they've done with this so far. Now, we do have armbands and we have wrist cuffs for both arms. And to take them off, or to get them on rather, you just pop the hands off. And the hands do pop off with the wrist socket staying there. And then you just have a peg and socket for the hand to come off. And then we have an armband right here that just slides up over his bicep. And this is where the paint rub comes from that I was showing you before. And then he just has an armband full of pouches right there. And then he has this wrist gauntlet right here for seemingly no reason whatsoever. And then his gloved hand just fits right back on. So there you go. Now the wristband is shaped so that it goes on a very specific way and won't roll around once it's on there, which I dig, because I really get frustrated when they put wrist equipment, wrist accessories on like this, and it's just a perfect round cone and they spin around. This, I love that it holds position. I'm going to put his stuff on this side now. Just give me a moment. Okay, so here he is, Cabbot Stone, fully decked out. He has his pouches around his biceps. He has his leather wristband on his left wrist, and he has this bright, shiny gold band on his right wrist for reasons unknown. He is decked out. He looks fantastic, and I love that you have options for displaying him. I love the splashes of color. Gold, 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 red, 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 purple shirt underneath, gold line for the purple shirt underneath. Got to get that into position again. That keeps moving around. Gold line for the purple shirt underneath that matches everything up. Red in the eyes, bringing together the red stones on his uniform. And then, of course, the stark white mane of hair right here. I think he looks fantastic, and he's definitely a presence on the shelf. He's just, look how bulky he is. He's great. So out of the packaging, Cabbot comes with a pair of clenched fists. He comes with his trigger hands. He comes with non-triggered gripping hands. He comes with these neutral-looking open hands. And he comes with jazz hands, or what the box is calling open action hands. So the face portrait we've been looking at since it came out of the box is his neutral face. And I think this is a really good neutral face. It's not expressive, but it's also not dull. It's very much just, I'm listening to the plan. I'm thinking about what could go wrong. I'm formulating a new plan. I'm coming up with backups. Let's get this job done. I really like this look on him. I think this is great, like right down to the sculpt of the chin and everything. I think this is a really good job. But we do have another alternate face portrait, which you saw already when I did the head swap. So let's just swap that out now and take a look at the new one. And like I said, this one is very tight to fit on there. But this is like a classic, like, Liefeld comic book battle face right here. Like, the snarl isn't like an overly snarl. Like, this is a face that means business. I really like this. Sometimes I feel like Marvel Legends and even like the G.I. Joe Classified series, when they try and do a face like this, it's a little too looking. And I like this, that like, it's still action. It's still like, this is a mean guy getting stuff done, but it's not cartoonishly growling. And I really dig that. I also like that when you get close enough, you can actually see the sculpt work in the teeth. This is kind of what I was talking about with the Pandora version 2, was that her teeth were just blank. It was just a white piece of plastic. This has some separation, some detailing, some texture. I'm not sure if there is a black wash in there to make the teeth stand out, but maybe it's just shadowing, but the teeth do stand out. Also, if we take a look in back, the ponytail is basically the same. Honestly, it looks like they could have done something like this and just done a faceplate swap. If they were going to do two heads like this, you can even see up front that the angle of the top knot is about the same. That if they were going to do a face swap like this, they could have just done a faceplate. If they were going to do a head swap like this, I wish this would be a little bit more of an action, like it would be out to the side or something, because there it is not articulated up top right here. Like, you can move it a little bit, but I feel like I'm messing up glue right there. But it's not something that you could really turn to the side like you can with like Scarlet or some of the other classified figures. And that's kind of a bummer, because you can see on the vest back here, he has the pegs to hold his weapons on. So let's take a look at his weapons while we're talking about that. So the first of his weapons we're going to take a look at right here is his big meat cleaver of a knife. The 90s were so excess, I swear, especially the comic books, especially when you start talking about X-Men and comics of that ilk, like Bloodstrike right here. So look at the size of this blade and look at like the burnishing, the gunmetal on there. I love this. I think this looks fantastic. I love the shine to it. The shine to it. You can see there's the illusion of an edge to it right there. The black handle, the gold cross piece. Like, one of the things that I've often said with my classified line, is that I'm kind of bummed whenever they paint a dagger just one solid color. But look at this. There's 3 different colors used right here, and it's great. Now, like I said, this is a beast of a dagger, and I have his trigger hands in there right now, but you can fit that in there even with the trigger hands. And yeah, it's big, but it looks really good proportion-wise to Cabbot. Now, this does have a sheath. You saw it on back right here, and like, that's why the sheath is so huge. And then this just fits right in there, tucks in there very nice, secure without feeling like I'm gonna bend it or anything when I'm pushing it in. And even bending it, man, like, look at the density of the blade. This is a great little accessory. I love that. Another piece to take a look at here is his sidearm, and this is just a blaster pistol. It's 100% a laser gun, and I love it. Once again, bigger than sidearms that you would get for most like 1/12 scale figures, but honestly, I'm not even sure these are 1/12, and you'll see, can be considered 1/12, and you'll see what I mean when we put the tape measure to them. But just look at this. It is a great mold. It is a great sculpt. That same like sort of burnished gunmetal gray going on right here. The only thing I don't like is I wish they would have bored out the barrel a little bit so that it could take some sort of blast effect. Now, once again, a larger pistol than what we're used to, but you put it in Cabbot's hand and it looks good. It really does. Like, this is what he should be packing. And we also have this oversized holster on his hip right here so that we can put that in there. There's even pouches on the holster, man. We can put that right there. It seats in there very well. He's going to be another one that, once this is all said and done, he's going to be able to carry all of his weapons on him, and I love that. So the next piece we have to take a look at right here is one of his mid-range guns, and yes, this big boss of a gun is mid-range once you see the final piece that we have, and he actually comes with two of these. One of these is on his back right now, and we'll take a look at how that's anchoring in a moment. But I want to take a look at this. This is a really good sculpt. I really like the look of this. This is so, once again, so 90s. Like, this is something that like Cable would have used, or Forge would have used, or Cabot Stone would have used. It's big, it's ridiculous. Visually, it makes no sense how anything would load. It has a magazine for what is obviously a laser gun. Like, it's just so quintessentially 90s comic book, and I love the look of it. I love the sculpt of it. I like how it's molded in this gray plastic, but then has this black wash thrown over it, giving it this gunmetal gray look with some brass, some gold painted on the side of the magazine, just to add a little bit of detail to it. One thing that I wish they would have done, well, two things actually, is painted the insides of the barrels black so that it's not just the end of the plastic piece right there, or bored these out so they could have accepted some sort of like standard blast effect or something. Because as it stands right now, these guns come with no blast effects. These have no blast effects. Now, these are designed to fit into his trigger hands. Once again, just like the pistol, you just put it in and twist, and he gets a really good grip on it. Just look at how horkin' big that thing is. It is designed for a two-handed grip, which we'll take a look at in the photos. But with two of these, here's the kick. Now, when we were looking at the vest, once we put the vest back on him, on Cabbot, you may have noticed that he had these two pegs in the back. Let's pop the head off for a moment. You may have noticed that he has these two pegs in the back. Now, these holes right here, these sockets, are where these weapons peg into his back. So we should be able to just tack them in, and there they go. Fit on like so. And they look cool. It looks good. They fit very well. You can put them symmetrically. They will start to move out of the way. They'll start to turn on their own. But here's the deal. His ponytail 100% gets in the way. And it doesn't really... Okay, wait, there we go. There we go. We can drape it over them. I wasn't sure if that was going to work. His head still... Does he get a forward look? It's still kicked to the side a little bit, but I guess it is big enough that we can drape it over the weapons. There we go. Okay, so that's not too bad. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. One thing that I want to show you, though, let me pop this off again, is that these pegs in back are mushroom pegs that are just pushed through the plastic and glued on the other side. Now, what does that mean? It means that when I was playing around with this off camera and I tried to push the gun onto this one, it popped off, and I actually just squished some blue tack in there to hold it on right now. Give me a minute, let me peel this off and I'll show you what happened. Okay, so I'm trying to get a light in there so you can see. You can see that this peg that is still in there, you can see sort of like the mushroom head right there, that it is just poking through, and I believe it's glued into place. This one that I'm just using blue tack right now to hold it in, because I don't actually have any epoxy glue or anything right now. I'm out, but I'm using the blue tack to hold it in. When I pushed the weapon in, it pushed through and kind of popped this out. So just be aware of that. Just be careful whenever you're working with that. And the last piece of ordnance we have to take a look at is his BAG, his big ace gun. And much like the other ones, this is just molded in a gray plastic, has a black wash going over it to bring out the details, gives it that really nice, like burnished gunmetal gray look to it. We have some, I'm assuming, grenades, matching the grenades on his vest. We have some grenades right here, painted in a brass. This looks really cool, but much like the mid-range guns down there, I wish they would have painted in the barrels of the guns. I might get some matte black for all of these and just do that myself. I also wish these would have been bored out to accept some blast effects, especially a big monster like this. Now, something about these weapons, this one, the ones on his back, the ones on his hip, these are hollow. These feel like hollow plastic. I don't think they're going to break, but there's absolutely no bend to them. So I don't know how fragile or how delicate these are. Just be aware of that. These aren't solid rubber like the Hasbro weapons. These aren't solid plastic like the Valiverse weapons. These are a hard plastic that are hollow and hopefully not too brittle. Also, the magazine does not come out. It is molded in there. And I don't know why this is open, but this is, not to keep using this phrase, but so 90s, so over the top, so extreme. And it doesn't get any smaller once we put it in Cabot Stone's hand, because this thing was made to be a monster. We put that in there, and just look at the size of the gun compared to the figure. I mean, just to give you an idea, once we size them up, it's like more than half of his size. So we can put this in his hand. We can position him. Getting him to, I don't know how we're going to be able to maybe do one of these numbers. 1 second. Okay, so to get a two-handed grip on it, I had to do this. This is one of his neutral hands that I'm using as sort of like a cradling hand like we do with Valiverse. But yeah, I wasn't able to shoulder it just because it's so horking big. My lord, this thing is massive. But that is Cabot Stone. Now, one of the things that I really like about these, and I'm pretty sure that Bloodwulf is going to be the same way, is that like the classified figures, he has everything decked out on him, and I really dig that. So now, without further ado, let's just take a look at Bloodwulf. Okay, here he is. Let's get Bloodwulf out of the package and take a look at him. Okay, so just like with Cabot Stone, we're going to start with Bloodwulf with his jacket off and take a look at the sculpt and the articulation and the paint apps. And I'm fairly certain that the buck is the same between Bloodwulf and Cabbot. The top parts of the legs, I believe, are reuse as well, like from the hip to the knee, maybe even down to the leg joint right here. Different boots, different kneecaps, different arms, obviously different head sculpt. So I believe 3/4 of the legs and the buck are all reuse between, or all shared rather, between Bloodwulf and Cabot Stone, who's actually over there just off camera if you're wondering why I'm pointing. Other than that, I think the rest of Bloodwulf is new. Like I said, the boots, the kneecaps, the arms, and obviously the head sculpt. So there's not much new to take a look at there. You can even see like the veins coming through on his chest. The arms are much hairier than Cabot Stone's are. His face is this feral, like, cross between Lobo and Wolverine look that he has going on right here, with big Horkin elf ears and Vegeta hair. Bloodwulf is such a gnarly character, and admittedly, I don't know much about Bloodwulf. I didn't read much about Bloodwulf during these days. I know more about Cabbot and Bloodstrike than I do about Bloodwulf here. As a matter of fact, I probably know as much about Bloodwulf as you do if you just heard me read the bio off the back of the box. But we do have a new knife sheath as well, and of course we have pouches. Pouches and pouches and wristbands and pouches. So there's no worry there about whether or not, you know, he's 90s extreme. The paint apps on this are very interesting. It almost looks like they're mist. Like, you look at the hands, you look at the arms, and it looks like it was black underneath and then slopped over with some white paint, and wherever it missed was just the way it went. Like, I'm not entirely sure that's not what happened, and this isn't a black wash in there. I feel like they used the black primer and then painted the white over top of it and just let the black bleed through in certain places. To me, anyway, that's what this paint job looks like on the torso, especially here around the collarbone, around the neck, the arms, even the face sculpt a little bit you can see, and then they just put the red mask on Bloodwulf to go along with it. Now, as far as the paint apps for the hair go, I love how we have like this flame effect coming up out of it, that it starts like a dark orange down here and just burns up to like this brighter yellow or this brighter orange up top. I think that looks really good. And just like with Cabbot, we kind of have matching points on here where we have the steel of the kneecaps going with the steel of his belt buckle right there. But also looking at the knee pads right here, you can see there's chunks taken out of them, which I really like. Like this one right here, you can see like where there was like damage done to it. You can see this big scar going up the top of the kneecap, the knee pad right there. I think that's great. I think it's a great touch. Now, these bands around the legs, one is really tight. This one is really loose. It's really bizarre that like this one feels like it's a little bit bigger and doesn't sit on the thigh nearly as well as this one does. I can't even really make them even because I can't push this one up anymore without stretching it too far, and I can't bring this one down anymore without it just dropping down his leg. So here's Bloodwulf's vest, and the thing I like about Bloodwulf's vest, since there's no piece that's connecting it up front, we can just slip this on and off like we can with a regular vest. But one thing I wanted to show you is that he still has those same pegs in the back for harnessing his weapons. However, on Bloodwulf, let me get the light back on so we can look down in there. On Bloodwulf, they're actually sandwiched between the two pieces of plastic you can see in there, that they're recessed underneath this top piece, that they're sandwiched between this green piece and this brown piece right there. So I'm very hopeful, I feel fairly confident about it too, that these are going to be anchored much more secure than Cabot's were. Now, with the vest, when I got it off, all I had to do was take his arms, bend them back like this, and then you can just slip it on because it's a soft rubber. Whoops, missed that. Slip it on because it's a soft rubber. And you don't have to pop his arms off like you had to with Cabot Stone. And with Cabbot, I liked it better with the vest off. With Bloodwulf, it's the other way. I like it better with the vest on. It adds another color to him, and it just looks cool. Like, I really like this. He has these shells coming up on both sides. He has little brass fasteners, little brass buttons on his chest pouches right there. He has all of these straps back here that in true 90s extreme fashion serve absolutely no purpose whatsoever other than to look cool. But unlike Cabot's that were underneath like a layer of material, these are on top. So these all have painted brass buckles on there. I really love the design of their clothing that they gave them. This also doesn't like really seem to lose Bloodwulf's mass the way that Cabot's does. Let me pull him over for a minute. Let me get this big Horkin gun out of his hands. But you see what I mean? That like between the two of them, Cabot's vest still looks good, don't get me wrong. But I feel like it really hides a lot of his bulk and a lot of his buffness underneath this, whereas Bloodwulf's kind of emphasizes it. So I'm thinking I might show him off more without the vest on. Also, I really love that like purple shirt with the gold stripe going down the front. But back to Bloodwulf here, the green just highlighting, contrasting against all of the other colors, this being its own color right there. Because like I said, we got silver and silver, we have red and red, we have his hair, and then his vest just stands out on its own. And I really dig that. So Bloodwulf has all of the same hand accessories that Cabbot has, so we're not going to go through them individually, but just know that in addition to the fists that he has on him right now, he has trigger hands, gripping hands, open action hands, neutral hands. He does have a new face sculpt, or a second face portrait that we're going to take a look at right now, that this kind of cracks me up. That, like, if you look at him, Bloodwulf doesn't have a neutral face. He has like angry and more angry, angry and fangry right here. So it's just like Cabot Stone. You pop the head off, you put the new one on, but also just like Cabot Stone, the second head sculpt feels like the socket isn't cut out enough because it was very hard to get on. You probably didn't hear the pop. He still has all the same articulation, but when you try and pop the head off, the neck joint comes off. So that's happening with both of them with the alternate head sculpts. That, like I said, it just feels like, where's the front of the neck? It just feels like the socket just wasn't bored enough. Whereas, like, the primary one on both of them fit on and off with no problems. Of course, maybe that's also because it shipped with this one and had time to sort of stretch. I don't know. Okay, starting with the smallest accessories and working our way up, Bloodwulf has this big Horkin serrated knife. Yes, this is supposed to be a knife. It looks more like a short sword, if you ask me, but it is big, it is brutal, and it is nasty. But this will fit on his back. You saw this big dagger sheath back here, this big machete sheath. That's really what this is. It's like this big serrated machete. This is even bigger than Cabot's, but it does fit oh so well into its sheath on the back right here. Also, once again, just like with Cabot's, love the texturing of the sheath, love the brass buttons that's holding it onto the belt. And as far as the dagger goes, once again, we have that gunmetal gray going on. I love the marks, the battle scarring on the blade of the dagger. I love the brown wrap of the handle with the brass handguard right there. The weapons are done so well for these figures. And once again, we're going to get to see that with the mid-range weapons. Bloodwulf does not come with a sidearm like Cabbot does. We just go right to these mid-range guns right here. And once again, this is a big, ridiculous-looking 90s ray gun. And it is awesome. We have it in that gray plastic. We have the black wash, giving it that burnished look. We have some brass down here, which I'm not sure if that's supposed to represent like a magazine or if this is supposed to be like a pump action where it just goes click, click, and then it pumps another round in. Just like with Cabot's, I wish they would have painted. I'm probably going to get some black matte paint and a thin brush and just black out the barrels eventually on my own. Maybe even put something up here, because I forgot to mention on Cabot's that we have these like high-tech looking scopes, but it's just more gray plastic. I might throw some paint apps right there just to give it like a screen, but this does fit into Bloodwulf, not Bloodstone, Bloodwulf's hands very well. Whoop. Twist. There we go. Fits in very well. Decent size, really scales well to him. Has two, as you can see, that also fit on his back, just like with Cabot Stone. So let's take this out. And we will, come on. And we will peg it on his back right here. I love this two identical guns just tacked onto his back, fitted on there. Love that. Love the look of it. Love the aesthetic. Love the symmetry between them. I think that is really cool. And finally, we have Bloodwulf's BAG, his big ace gun, and this thing. First of all, I love that it's in green instead of that gray. I love that it matches his vest. It just gives it a little bit something extra that pops out. It looks like we have something like rounds up in here, up at the top, for reasons unknown. A very standard looking scope, which surprises me, but this is also like a handheld minigun right there. You can see the rotating barrels. Unfortunately, this doesn't rotate. And I'm guessing this isn't actually a barrel. This may be like a laser sight or something, or maybe he just feeds the rounds down in there. Or maybe it is another gun and these rounds are feeding up into this And then the minigun is fed by this double-wide magazine. Once again, the magazine does not come out. Once again, this thing is huge. Once again, it's a big, hollow piece of plastic. Now, something that I forgot to showcase before is that if we do pop off the mid-range guns on back, we can fit their bigger guns on there as well, so that he can sort of like shoulder that one while he would be dual wielding these two. Also, just like with Cabot's, hold on, let me get that off. Just like with Cabot's, it's a little too big for him to get a decent two-handed grip on, because the handle is so far forward. I mean, if we took one of the resting hands, we might be able to get it on there, but we're not going to be able to get like a decent him shouldering it, maybe. Maybe if we had, but then he would be holding on to the rotating barrel and he wouldn't be able to get behind the scope. I mean, these things are huge. They're just maybe a little too huge. Okay, so now before we put the tape measure between them, keep in mind these are being advertised as 1/12 scale figures. But putting the tape measure between them, we can see that both of them are roughly 7 1/8 to the top of their head. Cabbot is roughly 7 1/2 to the top of his top knot, and Bloodwulf is approximately 8 1/2 to the top of his Vegeta hair. Which unfortunately means that when they are scaled up next to actual 1/12 scale figures, they dwarf the Marvel Legends Deadpool that I had bought to go along with them, which is unfortunate because with all the pouches and the crossed swords, he would have fit in perfectly with them. But they're taller than even my G.I. Joe classified heavy artillery roadblock over here. Now, pulling these guys out of retirement, they do scale up fairly well with McFarlane Toys. This is the DC Multiverse Wonder Woman from Endless Winter and the Mortal Kombat 11 Spawn. They'll also scale up fairly well with your Masterverse figures. Here they are beside New Eternia, He-Man, and Skeletor from the Bone Throne. A couple of other McFarlane figures that have been pulled out of retirement, just to give you an idea of mass. Here they are beside some Space Marines. And finally, here they are beside NECA Toys, Dungeons & Dragons, Warduke, and Grimsword. So I was very surprised with these figures. First of all, I was very surprised on the quality of them. I was surprised on how relatively solid they are. They do have their downsides. First of all, let's just get it out of the way. Those big Horkin guns that they come with, while they are awesome and they look great, you cannot really use those in any discernible way. They make great set pieces. They are very like 90s comics, especially like the era of Image Comics and the X-Men at the time. But there is no realistic way they can shoulder them, wield them in any realistic fashion. But they do look cool, and this is the rule of cool after all. The mid-range guns, the sidearm, the knives, I love those. Those are great. Those are right in line with the style of the time that these came out. And they're just over the top. They're excuse me for coining this, for like, you know, to coin a phrase, but like, they're extreme. And that's exactly what this era of comics, especially Liefeld, was. And this really brings that to life. The paint apps are great, the sculpts are great, the articulation is really, really good as well. I'm very impressed with, for as big and as chunky and as muscular as these figures are, how well the joints can move, the double jointed knees, the double jointed elbows. You get a lot more range with this than I thought you were going to. The secondary head sculpts need to be carved out a little bit more. There is the issue with the back peg with Cabot Stone. I'm upset about that. I'm a little upset about that. That's something that can be fixed though. But for a premium figure like this at that price range, you really don't expect issues like that to happen. The removable vest is a really nice touch. Once again, I do think that Cabot looks better without it. The paint apps are fantastic. I really, really like the paint apps on these figures. One thing that I forgot to point out, but I'm sure you saw it when we were looking at the head sculpts, is there's no pupils for the eyes. It's just completely whited out. Once again, in that comic book style, and I really dig this. The scaling of them throws me off. Like, they're advertised as 1/12 figures, but they really are more like a 1/10 scale figure at a 7-inch figure. Now, I don't know if they're saying that these are scaled at 1/12 and these characters are just that much bigger than your standard 1/12 figure, because you saw how they were even next to Roadblock. I don't buy that. I think these are just scaled up. I think you have to have the mindset that these are like 7-inch, 1/10 scale figures, which is kind of disappointing because I was really looking forward to putting them with some of the 6-inch figures that I have, like Deadpool that you saw, and putting them on like some of the 1/12 scale vehicles and motorcycles that I have, but I tried doing that, and Bloodwulf just looks ridiculous on the Cobra Coil. At time of release, these were sold out on Big Bad Toy Store. They are now back in stock. They're $74.99, $75 each. I'll leave a link to them in the description below if you'd like to add these in to your collection. They are on the pricey side, admittedly. I think they're pretty fantastic. I'm having a lot of fun with them, and I'm really looking forward to Wave 2. Happy New Year, everyone. The holidays are over, and it's great to have you all back. To celebrate the new year, go ahead and leave a like on the video. And while you're at it, you might as well subscribe if you haven't already. If you're a returning subscriber, I would like to thank you for coming back and joining me for 2025. If you would like to help this community of collectors grow, you can do so by joining the Steel Core. You can do that by becoming a channel member or a coffee page subscriber. Either one gets you access to members-only videos, the Discord, and eventually members-only live streams, all for $1 a month. You can join by clicking on the button below this video or by clicking the link to my coffee page in the description below. It's a new year and new things are coming to the channel. So play well, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching.